Have you ever hit send on a perfectly normal text only to spend the next 10 minutes rereading those 3 lines as if they were a crime scene? You analyze the punctuation, the lack of an emoji, or why they replied with a simple okay instead of their usual okay. Suddenly, the silence on the other end isn't just silence. It's a loud, ringing confirmation that you've finally annoyed them. Or maybe you're at a dinner table, and while everyone is laughing, you're the only one who noticed the slight tightening in your friend's jaw, or the way their eyes shifted for a split second. You aren't just overthinking, you are performing a constant, high-stakes background check on your own existence. But here's the strange part. Most people think this is just a sign of low self-esteem, a simple lack of confidence that you can fix with a few affirmations. Psychology, however, suggests something much deeper. This isn't just about liking yourself, it's about a highly developed, hypersensitive internal radar. You've become a social architect, someone who feels responsible for the structural integrity of every relationship they touch. You occupy a strange psychological space. You are often the most socially skilled person in the room, yet you are the most socially exhausted. You can navigate a conversation like a pro, mirroring the other person's energy and making them feel seen, but the moment you're alone, you collapse. You're scanning for glitches in their affection because for you, a change in their tone isn't just a mood, it feels like a threat to your safety. And this is where things get interesting. This habit of checking in isn't a flaw in your personality. It's actually a sophisticated survival mechanism that you've polished until it shines. But why did you have to learn how to read the room before you even learned how to read a book? Think about that one person in your life. Maybe it's a partner, a boss, or a best friend whose mood can change the entire weather of your day. If they sigh too loudly in the kitchen, your heart skips a beat. If their text is shorter than usual, you spend the next hour mentally scrolling through everything you've said in the last 48 hours, looking for the mistake. Most people would call this people-pleasing, but that's too simple. What you're actually doing is emotional scavenging. You are constantly scanning the environment for scraps of reassurance to prove that the ground beneath your feet is still solid. But there's a deeper reason for this. This hypervigilance isn't a bug in your system. It was originally a feature. You likely grew up in an environment where you had to become an emotional radar. Maybe you had a parent whose mood was unpredictable, or a home where peace was a fragile thing that you were responsible for maintaining. To survive, you had to learn how to read the microscopic shift in the way a door closed, or the specific pitch of a footsteps in the hallway. You became a master of the preemptive strike, fixing a problem before anyone else even knew it existed. This created a fascinating paradox. You are extraordinarily empathetic, yet emotionally isolated. You know exactly what everyone else needs, but because you're so busy monitoring their frequency, no one ever learns how to tune into yours. Have you ever felt like you're the glue holding every group together, but if you stopped reaching out, the whole structure would just evaporate? And this is where things get interesting. Because you are so good at being what others need, you've started to treat being liked as a form of life insurance. But what happens when the cost of the premium is your entire personality? The strangest thing about being an emotional architect is that you're often the most reliable person in the room while feeling like the most fragile one inside. You've spent years building a likability shield, a version of yourself that is polished, helpful, and never makes a mistake. But here's the paradox. You are loved by many, but you feel fundamentally unknown. Because you're so focused on the other person's reaction, you've become a social chameleon. If they're sad, you're the empathetic listener. If they're high energy, you're the witty companion. You've mastered the art of editing yourself in real time. You delete the joke that might be too edgy. You swallow the opinion that might cause a ripple. But why? Why does the idea of someone being slightly annoyed with you feel like a physical threat? It's because for you, a glitch in the connection feels like a loss of safety. In your internal world, if people stop liking you, the lights go out. You've tied your right to exist to your ability to be useful or pleasant. Most people never notice this part because you make it look so effortless. They see a person who is just really nice or great with people. They don't see the internal exhaustion of maintaining that 24/7 performance. Have you ever felt like a ghost in your own life? Like you're watching yourself play a character named me just to make sure everyone else stays comfortable? But there's a deeper reason for this. This habit of checking in isn't just about them. It's a way to avoid the one person you're actually afraid of disappointing. And this is where the mirror starts to crack. The The mirror cracks when you realize that your high-precision radar is actually a form of emotional self-abandonment. Every time you scan someone else's face to see if they're still okay with you, you are essentially leaving your own body to go live in theirs. You become a tenant in their mind, trying to decorate the room so they won't evict you. But here's the most painful paradox of all. The more you check if people still like you, the less you actually like yourself. Think about a late evening at home. The party is over, or the office is empty. You're finally alone, but you can't turn the radar off. You start pre-living future conversations, practicing how to sound casual, how to be low maintenance, how to be the person who never causes a problem. You've become so good at anticipating everyone else's needs that you've become a stranger to your own. If someone asked you right now, "What do you want?" you'd probably have to check their face first to see what the correct answer is. This is the life of the social architect. You build beautiful spaces for everyone else to inhabit, but you never built a room for yourself. You are socially skilled yet socially exhausted because your interactions aren't a bridge, they're a performance. But there's a secret that the radar never tells you. Most people aren't looking at you with a magnifying glass. They aren't grading your performance. In fact, most people are so busy worrying about their own glitches that they don't even notice yours. Have you ever felt that intense wave of relief when someone finally says, "Hey, you seem tired. Do you want to just sit in silence?" That relief isn't just about the silence. It's the feeling of finally being allowed to take off the armor. But why are you waiting for them to give you permission? The moment you stop checking if people still like you, the world doesn't end. The lights don't go out. Instead, something much more quiet and profound happens. You finally show up for yourself. We often think that if we stop being the social architect, if we stop fixing every mood and smoothing every edge, we'll be abandoned. But the truth is the exact opposite. When you stop performing, the people who only like the mask will slowly drift away, and that is the greatest gift you can receive. It leaves space for the people who actually want to know the person behind the radar. Maybe you were never actually insecure. Maybe you were just a guardian of peace who forgot that your own heart also needs a sanctuary. You spent so long making sure everyone else felt safe that you left yourself out in the cold. The emotional relief comes when you realize that no is a complete sentence, and a bad mood from someone else isn't a performance review for you. You are allowed to be too much for some and not enough for others, because your value isn't a fluctuating stock price based on their opinion. So, next time you feel that urge to reread a text or scan a face for a glitch, try a different question. Instead of asking, "Do they still like me?" ask yourself, "Do I even like how I feel when I'm with them?" Maybe you weren't trying to be liked. Maybe you were just trying to be safe. And today, you are finally safe enough to be yourself. Because at the end of the day, the only person whose check-in actually matters is the one looking back at you in the mirror. You've spent a lifetime building bridges for others. It's finally time to walk across one and come home to yourself.